Members of the press, good to see you here in person. Welcome to the meeting of the Planning Committee on this day, Tuesday, the 11th of October. I'll start with the first item on the agenda, which is number one, apologies for absence. Do we have any this evening?
We have apologies from councillors Tom Buckley, Ian Clark, Stefan Gabshaft and Lorraine Hill.
Thank you. Item number two, declarations of interest. Do we have any this evening? No, I see none. So let's move on to the next item, which is 3, to approve the minutes of the Planning Committee meeting held on the 20th of September. Councillor Plant.
Approve.
Yeah, thank you. Councillor Owens is seconding. All those in favour? Thank you. That's carried. And item 4 is public participation. No? Okay, thank you. So let's move on to item 5, which is plans new. If you turn to pages 11 and 12 of your agendas. So have we got any comments this evening? No. Okay, no observations from Town Council planning officers. Okay, so let's start with the first one, P22 S3103. It's a household application and it's for 1 Elizabeth Close. Any proposals? Councillor Plants?
I had a proposal for it.
Okay, thank you. Seconding, Councillor Orlett.
I would second it, Chairman. I agree that the plan's a little bit concerned about the carport, but other than that, it's so much better than what's come before. So the third or fourth time we've had applications for this price. An old bungalow has been sitting there for about a year. So yeah, I think we're going to be getting there, thankfully.
Okay, thank you. Did you want to actually put that in the application about the carport? Is that what you-
I think we just show our concern. I think it's up to the plan officer.
So that makes an amendment to your proposal. Are you happy with that?
Yeah, great concern. I wouldn't put subject to it being smaller. I think
Yeah.
it's better than what's come before, and it will probably go through. So
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we've got a proposal for approval with a comment on, just to add to that. Would any other councillor like to speak before we put it to the vote? Yes, councillor
Took
Crew.
out the carport because the neighbour was a bit concerned they wanted it over the other side.
Okay, we've already got that.
Could I ask exactly what the concern about the carport is?
Yeah, it's right forward into the site. It's almost onto the pavement. So, you know, I think there's plenty of room to push it back if they wish to push it back.
It's a street scene, I think, really. I think the neighbours commented on it as well. Okay, all right, no other comments then. Let's put this to the vote. All those in favour? Okay, that's carried, thank you. Next is P22 S3256. It's the listed building consent for 48 Marketplace. Councillors, yes, Councillor Arlett.
Yeah, I'm fully support of this, subject to, I agree, the concern of the conservation officer's comments. Other than that, I'm fine with it.
Yeah,
So-
conservation officer has a holding objection. Yeah, seconding.
Subject to conservation.
Okay, thank you. Would any other council like to speak? No, okay, let's put this to the vote then. All those in favour, subject to the conservation officer's approval. Thank you, that's carried. And next is P22 S3284. It's a householder application for 2 Pierce's Orchard. Councillor Crook.
Oh, no, I'm going
Oh, sorry, Councillor Plants.
Approve.
Yeah, seconding. Councillor Romans, thank you. Councillor Crook, did you want to speak?
on condition that there's no trees removed. I don't think there is, but we've lost so many in that small area lately, and it's going to have a detrimental effect on the, the third bat, because they actually fly where the trees are.
Are they proposing to remove trees then?
I don't think, but if there was a tree thing in the plan, on the plan, a tree like, but like all the ones at the end next door, I think it was, have all been demolished. Instead of being locked.
Councillor Plant, do you have any comments about this at all?
No, no.
No, okay.
As far as I can.
Councillor Arlett, do you want to speak?
Well, the thing here, we now start on the slippery slope of people wishing to turn their garages into habitable rooms. And we've kind of seen this all over town, one or two starts. And I'll give you a prime example now, driving up Valley Road. Valley Road, there were very few cars that used to park on the road, very, very few. And now they're parked either side of the road for the simple reason they've changed the garages into habitable rooms. Now, this will be the first one in Pierce's Orchards. Most of them got double garages there. I'm probably going to support this, but I'm just giving my view of what's going to happen in the future. You know, we'll start with one, and then the next comer will come along and apply for a habitable room because we've already given permission for the other one. So I would, I'll probably support it. It shows 3 car park spaces out on the front of the property, which is sufficient for a 3-4 bedroom house. But it's, I say, it's just part of the slippery slope. There's a cul-de-sac there. Okay, it won't be as bad as main roads, but I can just see other ones following from this. There's one more comment.
I do, I agree with you completely. I guess we'll just have to take each one on a case by case.
Okay, all right, well, we have a straightforward motion for approval, which has been seconded, so let's put it to the vote. All those in favour? Against? Okay, thank you, that's carried. Okay, next is P22 S3348. It's a household application for 2 Simmons Road. Any proposals? Have I? Oh, beg your pardon. All right, well, let's just quickly, is it okay if I just move it, save me saying it all over again? Is that okay with you? Yeah, so let's move to 2 Simmons Road. Yes, councillor. Okay, seconded, councillor Romans. Would any other councillor like to speak?
I'm definitely going to vote against this. These drawings are awful, absolutely dreadful. I don't know if I've ever seen anything like it before. It's kind of a flat roof, massive extension out the back. The way it's laid out, there's loss of light to the next door neighbour's property. It's totally overdeveloped, out of character. There's nothing I can say that would change my mind to support this application. I think the whole thing is absolutely horrendous. And I'm surprised an architect will put his name to it. I'm sure I'll get a letter to the editor next week.
If they weren't,
Other than that, it's quite good.
Okay, any other comments, please? Yes, councillor
The
Crew.
only concern is like the neighbour that lives next door doesn't own his house. So if he moved, because he said he doesn't object to the loss of light, even though it will clearly, because they took a corner off the end, which seems a bit strange.
Yeah.
But the fact is, if that tenant doesn't live there, the next people that move it will have a severe loss of light.
Absolutely.
That's the only thing I'm thinking of, because I don't think that tenant will be there forever. Because they're a single person on their own and it's 3
Yeah, let's not go into any
Yeah,
personal
no,
details.
but I'm just
please.
saying, I'm just thinking that if anyone else moved in, it would.
Yeah, but they would be seeing it if it was in its built form, then
Yeah.
they
But it's
would
just
make a
the fact
decision
that-
whether to stay or go, wouldn't they? You need to talk about present time, not what's going to happen in the future. Okay, so would any other councillor like to speak? No, okay, let's put this to the vote then. All those in favour of approval? All those against? Abstaining?
Sorry, I can't.
No, that's fine, it's carried.
Well. On your heads.
Right, okay, next one, let's move back up to P22 S3337, and it's a full application for Sheep House Stud on the Reading Road. Any proposals? Or do you want to have a debate first on this one?
I'm
Yeah,
just
Councillor
wondering, Chairman, why it's come in front of us. This is in Harpston, not in Henley. And that's Capital's Guard for good reason.
It says Henley on Thames here.
Yeah,
It is in Harpston. I don't know whether it's because it's a neighbourhood plan area and it's quite close to Henley.
Do we want to comment?
I would propose no comment.
What do councillors think?
Well, we don't get a say on it, but I was in support of it anyway.
Yes, councillor Rowland, you've got a suggestion.
If it's Harpston, then I would feel slightly bad about making judgment on something which doesn't really concern us, so I would back the no comment.
Kath, what do you think?
I did belatedly realise that it was in Harpston and email to Harpston Parish Council, but I hadn't had a response in case they had any comments to make that they could share with us, or whether they wanted to come to speak. I mean, I'd probably agree that no comment might be safest.
Okay, well, let's put that to the vote then. All those in favour of no comment? Okay. Thank you, that's carried. Okay, at the bottom here, we've got P22 S3353 is a household application for 8 Fairmile, and if I could take it please with a list of building consent over the page, which is P22 S3354, list of building consent. Yes, councillor Parks.
Approval subject to conservation and to take the advice on board about the mechanism opening of the gate. Inwards to meet highways recommendation.
Okay, thank you. Yes, councillor, are you seconding?
I'm going to second, but I don't have
Yeah.
a problem with the game. But I'll still say.
I won't have a problem with it.
Yeah. Did you want to speak?
No.
No. Would any other councillor like to speak? Okay, all those in favour of approval subject to the 2 conditions? Okay, that's carried, thank you. Okay, P22 S3367, it's a household application for Badgemore Grange. Councillor Plants.
Quite like to live there.
Yeah.
Approval.
Seconded,
Yes, I thought it's a Badgemore Golf Club, but yes, I'll.
councillor Romans, thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak? No, okay, all those in favour of approval? Thank you, that's carried. And next we've got P22 S3390, it's a householder application for 15 Niagara Road. Yes, councillor.
I don't think it's particularly in keeping, but I'm not sure whether it's strong enough to refuse or not.
Councillor Arlett.
Yeah, I just think this is a poor design, out of character. Does absolutely nothing for me.
It's good for refusal.
Yeah.
I think on
Okay.
design, grounds, it's out of keeping, it's
Yeah.
disturbance to the scene. I mean, as far as the actual extension, it's just not done well.
And I'm not even sure the way they're showing the design of the roof, some stairs going up there, but they've got no rooms up there. I don't quite understand that either.
Yeah, I think go back out of keeping and not restricted and come back on something.
Okay, all right, so we've got a proposal for refusal which has been seconded. Would any other councillor like to speak? No, okay, then all those in favour of refusal? Okay, that's carried, thank you. Did you get the planning reasons? Okay,
Yes.
yeah. Okay, so we've got, next is P22 S3423, it's a householder application for Albert Villa 2B Albert Road. Councillor Arlett.
No objection.
Okay,
It's
thank
going to
you.
take the place of the old workshop that was there.
Yeah, seconded.
Yeah.
Yeah, councillor Plant, thank you.
I have no idea there's a place called Albert Villa.
Would any other councillor like to speak before we put this to the vote? No, okay, all those in favour of approval? Vote against? I'm against. Okay,
Do you think it's overdevelopment?
I just couldn't understand why there wasn't more information about the use, privacy and materials that they were going to be using. Right, okay, next is P22 S3450, which is listed building consent for Henley Town Hall, which we
Rejected.
will not be, we will not be commenting on. And last but not least is P22 S3462, which is a D demolition for Wyville Country Gardens, Reading Road. Councillor Arlett, do you know why this is coming forward?
No,
You don't
absolutely.
normally see these.
I just cannot avoid this unfold. You know, we got planning permit up wrong.
I saw something on the application about they'd asked SODC's opinion on whether they had to submit a formal planning application to demolish, and presumably this is it.
Because I just thought it would form part of the larger
I would have been part of the planning,
planning.
application. It was absolutely crazy to me, because you know, you've got to knock the houses down.
Let's not waste our time talking about it. It's, yes, let's get it down and get something better done. I reckon.
And it's in Herts, so let them worry about it.
Well, I mean,
I suppose as we voted for it through the neighbourhood plan, the house, I think we should make a.
well, it's outside the neighbourhood plan.
Well,
This one's outside the neighbourhood plan.
That's not-
no, it's not.
It's a site in the neighbourhood.
Is it the revised one, you mean, not the current one?
That's-
It's carried forward.
Yes, but
This is the old Wyville site.
Yeah, I know.
We've had an application done through from Beachcroft for a full house.
Yeah, I know it's got outline permission, hasn't it?
but our understanding for last time, isn't it? They can't get back.
All right, well, listen, I'll go with the majority view, and you want to vote on it, so you've got an approval. You're seconding,
Yeah.
okay, all those in favour? Okay, thank you, that's carried. Right, okay, so let's just flip back to the main agenda. So next is number 6, objections, call-in applications. Do we have any?
No.
Okay. And number 7 on page 13 is to note all of the decision notices received from the planning authority. I've actually got quite a few refusals on
I
there.
can say that, Chairman.
Oh, I haven't seen that in a long time.
Well, 1110 side, we did get that refused at the last planning committee. Which was done for approval by the office.
Yeah.
But no, I was surprised somebody else.
Okay, all right, so noted, yeah, thank you. Let's move on to 8, which is progress report for applications called in on 8. Any updates that you know of, Councillor Arlett?
Well, the only one I've mentioned would be Tensize Henley, which is there, which was refused. So other than that, all the other ones are ongoing, although Kath did send an email out earlier about 19 to 21 Bell Street that have come forward with a number of amendments, which I personally don't think we should discuss tonight.
That's coming to the next planning
Yeah.
committee. We've got an extension.
Okay,
What about 9 to 11?
that's
That's the one they talk.
No, it's not. There's 19 to 21 as well.
9 to 11 is just the applications going through.
Yeah, but 19 to
19 to 21, there's an amendment coming forward.
Okay. I hope those.
Yeah, that was not really an update.
Okay. Right, okay, so the next one is number 9, which is on page 19, which is to note the appeal decision, which is very disappointing. Any comments, Councillor Arlett?
Yeah, lots of comments, Chairman. I attended the appeal with, I was going to say Councillor Luckett. With Jeff Luckett. And after about an hour and a half, we were, dare I say, totally dismayed. I think you'd accept that, Jeff. It was horrendous what was going on there. The major problem was the land supply. You know, did SODC have a 5-year land supply, which the inspector asked the question, and unfortunately the officer said, no, we haven't got a land supply, because it ran out in March, at the end of March. And from that point onwards, they were kind of getting slaughtered. Now, what came after that the appellant stated that they had done some calculations and they come up with a 4.16 year land supply. And nobody, even the inspector, nobody questioned that figure. They just kind of accepted that figure, which surprised me because, you know, our SODC land supply couldn't have gone down that far, one wouldn't imagine. After that, obviously at the end of the inquiry, it looks like a few weeks later, SODC on point 2 procedure matter, SODC then found out, this was in July, that they had a 5.31 year land supply. Now, if that figure would have been put to the meeting, I think we would have got a totally different answer to this appeal, because on the appeal, I don't know if you read it, there's 34 conditions to build on that site. Now, I've never known an application that's been given so many conditions. So I think we should write to, because I haven't got the answer from SODC, so I think we should write to SODC, either to Mark Stone, the CEO, or to Adrian Duffield, the head of planning, or maybe both, and ask the question why the land supply or the figure for the land supply finished at the end of March this year, and we weren't given the new figure until July. There was a 3-month space. Now, I think we should also ask in that letter is why didn't they start looking at the new figures for the land supply between January and March, and then come up with a new figure on the 1st of April. Now that to me would have made sense, because we've gone 3 months without a land supply, and there was another application that's passed as well on appeal for the same reason, because we didn't have a 5-year land supply. So I think we should ask that question, you know, why did we have this 3-month delay without a proper land supply years? Or whatever, because as I say, we now know you know, there was a figure of 5.31 years, which would have answered a lot of questions. So that was one of the things. The second problem I had in this was when you read through the report, it mentions Harpsden once, and it mentions Shiplake about a dozen times. And it even gives Crossways, Shiplake, Oxfordshire. And I got in touch with Kester George last night, the chairman of Harpsden, and he is convinced that Crossways is in Harpsden. Now, when you read through this, it keeps referring to Crossways is in Shiplake, it's part of Shiplake, it's part of Lower Shiplake, etc., etc., etc. And there's no way in that report that it mentions that it's either partly in Harpsden or in Harpsden at all. And I think, Jeff, when we were there was a debate on the exact border of where this lies. It's obviously right next to Thames Farm. Well, Thames Farm is in Harpsden. So it's right next to Thames Farm. So one would consider that it's in Harpsden as well. And then when you get to Woodlands Road, that then may be the border of Shiplake, or Lower Shiplake. So I think we should ask SODC what their view is on this. Is the inspector's report correct? Is Crossways in Shiplake or is it in Harpsden? Because the chairman of the Harpsden Parish Council is telling us it's in Harpsden. Because I think all these things, when you start reading this, they may well have come up with a different view on the site. Because if it's in Harpsden, he only had to refer to the joint Henley and Harpsden neighbourhood plan, which he does, but I'll just get the correct wording. In here, he suggests that the joint Henley, right, what he says here, he said, item 19, I know there is a neighbourhood plan for Henley and Harpsden, which is emerging but not yet made. That is incorrect.
No, it is
Exactly,
incorrect.
that is totally incorrect, and this is from the inspector. Now, we have a neighbourhood plan, which he could have referred to, but he didn't. So he obviously hadn't done his homework, right, thinking that we didn't have a neighbourhood plan. Okay, it's too late now, he's granted permission, but I think when things like that happen, and somebody wins an appeal, this should be brought to someone's notice, because that is totally incorrect. We do have And it's like the Ship Lake neighbourhood plan, which was very, very close to going through referendum. And he made no notes. Well, the only thing is, he said there was no Ship Lake neighbourhood plan. Well, there was a Ship Lake neighbourhood plan because it's almost ready for referendum. And they do carry, which I've noticed in the past, they do carry a certain amount of weight, you know, a new plan. And there's no mention in this report of either. So I think it's a pretty poor decision actually by the inspector. Although saying that, you know, when we left the meeting, which we were only there for half an hour, we were fairly disappointed what was going on. So all these things that I believe they've missed would have made, which could have made him come up with a different decision. We didn't need any more houses. We've got sufficient houses in the review. And there's no mention whatsoever. Now, all that information was open to the inspector to read if he wished to, and obviously he didn't. So the main thing is obviously going back to the how many years land supply do we have? I think that is a big issue, which could have caused this application to have been passed.
Yeah,
Will that make sense?
yeah, thank you.
In terms of the boundary, I don't understand the discussion, because either in Harpston or in Shipload, that's why we have boundaries, that's why each time they change and they move by a house or a lane, we agree to or we don't.
Right,
That's not up for discussion, sure.
it was, yeah.
But which side of the boundary does it fall?
Well, they seem to think the boundary could have gone through the middle.
The fact they seem to think like it's
Exactly.
accurate to them,
Yeah.
you think they're right.
Do they get cheaper discount, council tax one side of the house?
Yeah, that's what the implant is then.
It just seems crazy that they haven't defined it.
Yeah, yeah. But Kester is 100% sure it's all in Harpston, but
For good reason, he needs some housing stuff in Harpston.
Yeah, they really need some money in Harpston, don't they?
Like,
Right, okay.
I'm just trying to keep the meeting going while passing.
No, let's move on. Thank you for that. That's really interesting. Yeah.
Who's writing a letter to everybody?
Probably Ken, he seems to know it quite well.
Would you like me to draft something?
That would be excellent. Thank you.
Can you copy me a minute, please?
Yeah.
Okay. Who's it from? Sheriff Fleming.
Chair,
Sheriff Fleming.
I'll draft something.
Right, so 10. Town and Country Planning Tree Preservation Order, number 22S17. This is just to inform us that a tree preservation order has been lodged
We've got it,
and we've got the map here.
yeah.
Any comments about it at all? Yeah,
Yeah,
Councillor
I've written a long email, we do occasionally to SODC Forestry Department, asking them about 10 different questions. I think we all know where the land is, and there are 3 oak trees which are shown there, which
Yeah.
are T1, T2, T3, and G1 is 2 more.
Yeah, no, exactly.
The question was asked by the owner of the land, how did the forestry officer get onto the land to look at these trees? Which is a good question, because if you're going to put a TPO on them. The bigger concern is the item W1, which obviously goes onto Grace Road. So I went and had a look the other day, because they want to put complete TPO on all that area. The problem is with it, there's 3 or 4 trees in there that are just, they're not examples of TPOs. They're ones with bells that are broken on, there's some that are split. It's mainly a hedge that's kind of grown over the years. My concern is with Crest Homes that are showing an access going through there. This was to have a TPO on it. It could affect their land application. What SODC is saying, if they don't put a TPO on this, the developer will come along and just rip the whole thing out. Well, the developer's not going to do that.
No.
They've shown that it's got a small road going through there. So I think we should question, this is my view, I think we should question as a planning committee, why a TPO is put on some of the trees there that are not prime examples of quality trees. I know it might be the whole section, but they are really poor quality trees. I'm fairly sure that the developer will do a lot of work on that hedge along there or the trees along there. I think to put a TPO on substandard trees is not a good example. I don't believe. So I think we should question that. And then.
Are you, sorry, you lost me there. Are you talking about W1 or are you talking about T1, 2
No,
and 3?
but double one,
Right,
double
double
one,
one,
which is the
yeah.
bank of.
No, I agree. I can't see any, I've never noticed any trees of note in there. I've just noticed a hedge.
So who's ordered this? Was it a member of the public?
No, it wasn't. Basically, what happened was that Press Homes or one of their agents, they had to put an application, plan application forward. There's a number on there which I've looked at. They had to put an application in to give details basically of all the environmental issues around there, which they did. So someone from forestry has picked this up and probably thinking, oh, they're going to rip all these oak trees out and this, that, and the other, which they're not. So they've obviously rushed up very quickly. They haven't got any permission to go on the land to look at these trees, hence we don't know how they looked at them and the quality of them. They might be poor quality, we don't know. So yeah, so they've rushed up there because of this application that Crest Homes have put in, and then they wang this TPO on them straight away. Although they're saying that it doesn't come into force for 28 days until we've had the chance of either supporting it or not supporting. So my view, I would propose that we accept G1, T1, T2, T3, but we request that they have a look at this bank of trees or hedge along W1 and specify exactly what trees they are, what they are talking about.
Yeah, perhaps we could visit with them.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah,
I'll propose that.
yeah. Seconded.
I do. I commend the work that's been done, because how many times have we sat here and gone, well, they are, they ripped the trees out before we even got
Yeah,
the chance.
yeah.
Yeah, I think it's actually a good step and shows the system trying to step in and sort of help, just maybe a slight overstep. But I still rather see an overstep as far protection goes rather than them all
Yeah.
already be ripped out. So I think it's a good step, but we'll get them to that block again. But
Yeah. Okay, right. I think that ends the meeting. Thank you very much for your contributions.